You're live.
All right.
Live.
Welcome to the SEO plus AI show. My name is Josh Bashinsky. And with me today, as always, I have my co-host, Greg Bissoni. Say hi there, Greg.
Hello. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing very, very well. Let me just change the view here. Okay, so we're recording. Excellent. So the SEO plus AI show, in case you have never seen it before, is a show where we talk about the latest trends in SEO and the latest trends in AI. If you've been living under a rock somewhere, SEO has been dominated by AI lately, especially the ubiquitous program called ChatGPT. It's very popular if you've never tried it. There's a whole bunch of other versions of ChatGPT have come out, or clones have come out. It's a bit attack of the clones. There's been Auto GPT and a few other ones that have come out. A lot of them are open source. A lot of them are just released on GitHub. Not a lot of stuff that is that usable, really. Cloud has been released. Cloud AI has been released. Other ones like that. Some are a little bit more user-friendly. Of course, Google Bard has released their AI, which is based on Lambda, which is a totally different technology than GPT. So it's been the AI revolution, and SEO has totally changed from that perspective. As I was saying in previous episodes, and Greg, you just nod your head if you agree, I don't think there's any industry out there that has been as affected by AI than SEO, because we generate content on a regular basis on stuff that we know nothing about, and quite often as an SEO, I have to write a page about cat training or something, and I know nothing about cat training, obviously. So we're getting ChatGPT to do a lot of that. We would have outsourced that before, and now a lot of that outsourcing is moving over to ChatGPT. But is that a good idea? Is the question. Is that going to hurt you? Is that going to be something you want to do for your SEO? And that's what we're talking about today, how to bring the heat in SEO. And now, if you're wondering what the heck HEEAT is an acronym of my own creation based on an acronym of Google's creation. So you're familiar with EAT. It was originally EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. And for many, many years, that was just part of the Google Quality Raters guidelines. They had no direct way of noticing it in the algorithm in any way. And it was just kind of a guideline for their human quality raters to determine what should be the sites that have quality. What should be the sites that are the most relevant? Quality and relevance are the same word for Google. So think about that in your head for a second. Quality and relevance are the same word in their head. Okay. So to be quality, I have to be super relevant for this query, for the search query, for the EMQ, for the search, for the user. And humans would rate this, but not anymore. Now they're having AIs directly check these kinds of things out. They're going to be phasing out the quality raters very shortly. They've already been downsizing the quality raters for quite some time already. Because again, as I said, SEO is now all about AI. Google is an AI first company. It's all about AI. So it used to be expertise, authority, and trust. And by the way, for those folks who are watching live, by all means, ask any questions that you have in the not the Discord, sorry. Ask any questions you have. So that's for my university. That's for Underground SEO University, my private mentorship group. Ask any questions you have that you want us to answer live. We'll be happy to answer them live. Let me just share this out also to a couple different places. So if you have any questions for us, you want to answer live, any SEO questions at all, please ask them in the chat if you're watching live here on YouTube, and I'll bring this up and take a look at it periodically. So as I said, it used to be expertise, authority, and trust. But now they added another E on the front of it. So now it's experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And so people used to think that authority and trust, because we use that in the linking spaces, that it has to do with linking. And the answer is not really, not really. There is also content stuff you need to have on your page for authority and trust as well. They put out papers on it, and Bill Slosky, God rest his soul, talked about the consensus of experts paper, patent and white paper, or the mountaintop. He called it, I believe, the mountaintop paper or patent, where the opinions of experts can now be directly tracked through their transformers. They have various transformers, Google does, which are like GPT, which is also a transformer, the generative pre-processed transformer, generative pre-trained transformer, which is based off a technology that Google made in BERT, the bidirectional encoding from representations transformer, which they've been using BERT for a very, very long time to analyze passages of the page. It's what provides the featured snippet. BERT is what provides the people also ask. People also ask in the featured snippet is largely being helpful. and answering these questions for users. And they also have another AI called POM, which is something language model. I can't remember what it is, but it's a huge parameter language model. Also, T5 is another language model they have based on a similar technology that allows in thousands and thousands of tokens to read the entire page. The reason why I'm telling you this, they read the entire page to find out what has the experience, who is demonstrating experience and how they talk on their page, who is demonstrating expertise, how they talk on their page, who is demonstrating authority and is building trust on their on-page content. And then last but not least, so like, that's EAT, that's the EAT, right? EEAT. You might be like, okay, well, what's the last H in that? Well, that's helpfulness. Now, again, unless you've been living under a rock, helpfulness is a major ranking factor in SEO that they can directly track. It's not just a white hat thing. It's not just a white hat thing. It's not just a thing that everyone should ignore or can ignore. It's not just for informational pages. It has to be helpful for everybody, right? Everybody has to be helpful, and you have to show that helpfulness on your page. And the product review update was another very similar update that gets onto similar kinds of does similar kinds of things. So they've definitely made a change and a sweeping a move over to that kind of idea. Helpfulness in the product review update, they gave very specific questions that you need to answer, and we're going to show you today how to not generate content in GPT so that it doesn't have heat. We're going to show you how to generate cold content today, and we're also going to show you how to generate heat content in GPT that has the helpfulness, has the experience, has the expertise, authority, and trust. Greg, what are your thoughts on this? Did I forget anything? Did I leave anything
out? No, I think you covered it pretty good. Looking forward to seeing some stuff in ChatGPT.
Excellent.
Or Keyword Spy, for that matter.
Or Keyword Spy, for that matter, yeah. Okay, so let me just quickly go over here to see if we have any questions. Not yet. So as I said, guys, for those who are watching live, by all means, fire any questions in the into the chat that you want us to answer. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's get down to business. Let's get down to the beeswax here. So here we have ChatGPT, the plus version, of course. I'm paying for the plus version. So I have access to all these different models. I have the browsing alpha. I have the default GPT, which is the fastest, legacy, which you wouldn't want to use for any reason, really, and GPT-4. So I'm going to use the default model because that's what most people have access to. And let's just pick a topic and just have it write just some normal content. So please write me an article, and I even say an SEO article on what should we write it about? What's a good SEO'd thing?
How about
do we want to do JFK parking?
Yeah, sure. I know a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Just a little bit. Okay. Cool. So here it's like, sure, fine. I'd help you do that. So first off, you notice it gives you a meta sentence that you just can't copy and paste. So you have to be very careful when you're using GPT or any language model to generate your content automatically. Make sure you filter out any of the default sentences it kind of makes. And okay, so here we go. Finding affordable and convenient JFK parking. If you're flying out of John F. Kennedy International Airport, one of the most important things you need to consider is where you'll park your vehicle. Okay, with so many options available, kind of a remedial sentence, but quite frankly, for SEO, you'd need that. With so many options available, finding affordable and convenient JFK parking can be a challenge. In this article, we'll take a closer look at some of the key factors you should consider when choosing a parking facility near JFK. You should consider location. You should consider price. You should consider amenities. You should consider reviews. Okay, so actually, I'm pretty surprised. This is actually a little bit more helpful out of the box than I was thinking it was going to be, quite frankly. But it's probably because I said SEO article. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, that's how we used to, craft our pages. But I do think at this stage, the user. I know the user's intent. They literally just want to find a price. I think they do want reviews if they're really inexperienced with the airport. Just because you Google it doesn't mean you've never done JFK parking before. So it's kind of a split between people who are just coming there for the first time, who will want to dig into reviews, versus people who are just like, what's the current pricing, and I want to book a reservation. So that's why crafting these pages are difficult to nail the searcher's intent, because it's very split. But there's obviously a lot of long tail keywords where you could potentially do that better. But no,
Right.
the topics, the subheadings are pretty good. I mean, you could definitely expand on that. But again, from a CRO perspective, people just want a search form and get a quote and see what's there initially. So that's
Yeah.
having done this for 18 years. So,
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I agree, and it's even a little bit more helpful than I thought it would be. But again, it's very shallow, and it's very short. This is much less than 500 words. It's like a 300 word page. It's very difficult to rank a 300 word page in many niches. Quite often, it's not going to have the depth of keywords. Quite often, it's not going to have the spread of keywords to show the expertise, authority, and trust. Quite often, it's not going to have the helpful keywords that you need in there. So I think this. I don't think this would probably rank very well. What do you think, Greg?
no, it wouldn't, because it's giving you an outline. It's more about, this is like an outline for a writer to take and then expand and go into detail about each of those subheadings if you selected to go with those. Because if you read through, it's just giving sort of a general, hey, you should be analyzing location and reviews, but is it actually pulling out actual JFK information? I don't know. I can't see it that very well, but like, does it even mention a parking lot and give reviews of even one? I don't
No,
think it's, no.
no.
So it's just a very high level. It's almost like a brief, more or less.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point. It is almost more like a brief that you'd give a writer, and a human would have to think of how to do it. So it's not well researched. It doesn't have tips and tricks. It's not helpful for the user. It's not going to terminate the search. If this page even managed to rank on page one, which would be a miracle unto itself, they would bounce off this page, and that wouldn't do well for their rankings. So there's a bunch of things you need to add in here to make it helpful, to make sure it has the in-depth research, to make sure it's provided in a helpful way. You need to terminate the user search. You need to tell them tips and tricks from an expert perspective that they couldn't have gotten any other place, right? And what you're doing is you need to be in the consensus of experts. So either you need a subject matter expert who knows what the consensus of experts is, and luckily I have you here to do that, to kind of mark these articles as we're going. But also, if you haven't been in the space for 20 years, and you're just hired to do SEO for something new, or you bought a new site, you want to do an SEO for something new, you're like, I don't know anything about weight loss pills. I don't know anything about herbal Viagra. I don't know anything about whatever it is. I don't know anything about affordable ceiling lamps. I don't know anything about installment loans in Canada. All the things that we're asked to do SEO on. I don't know anything about chiropractor services in Calgary, Alberta. Calgary has chiropractors? What? Of course they do. But so you got two options, right? You have two options. Either you do some research and become a subject matter expert on it, and a human writes it, or we start editing this with all kinds of stuff. And we start asking, at ChatGPT, teach me the most important things about parking pages that users need to hear. That's one way of doing it. And so they're going to start giving you generalized information here But I'm sure as we keep reading here, and Greg's probably going to notice that this is just, again, too general. This might help. This might help your writer a little bit in learning what it is they need to do, but it's not going to be specific to each parking lot. The Hanauma Bay parking lot, you need to know certain things. The JFK parking lot, you need to know certain things. The Winnipeg International Airport parking lot, you need to know certain things about where to park and how much it costs. Like for the Winnipeg International Airport, the page needs to say, by the way, for some stupid reason, they decided to make an open air parking structure outside of the new airport. And when you are parking your car, remember, Winnipeg is minus 30 degrees Celsius for 8 months of the year. so make sure you wear proper weather, because you have to walk outside for about half a kilometer before you get to the airport. I happen to know that for a fact, because I've flown in and out of Winnipeg a number of times because I have family there. That's where I was born and raised. And I thought, why in the F did they build the parking lot so far away from the airport? This is for a place in the frozen Canadian North. Why did they do that? Why didn't they make it internal, inside? I don't know why they did it that way. I guess, Winnipeg is the cheapest city in the world. They're just saving costs, I guess. But what do you think, Greg? Do you think that this is good enough to just give to your writer and say, okay, do this?
No, I don't think it understood what a parking page was. Like the first thing, parking pages are temporary.
Okay, so that's the okay. So pages. That's another thing is prompting it. Pages about parking at airports. I'll even give it that next chance. Okay, so now it's a little bit more on point.
Availability, types, availability, price, security, location, payment options, reviews. Yeah, those are the main points that most pages in the SERPs cover. So I don't know how it comes up with that so quickly, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's read through, I don't know how many pages about parking, but yeah, those are very covered topics, subheadings for sure.
Okay, indeed. So at least we got the first part right. At least we're talking now about the right topics to show our authority and our trust. The question is, okay, what topics are missing from the above? We already talked about, we didn't talk about accessibility. Okay. Rewards programs, shuttle service, reservation requirements. So it's going to come up with a whole bunch more that if you didn't think of typing this in, you wouldn't have on your page though. This is all stuff that you could use theoretically to make it, again, have the heat, be fully helpful, have the full experience, the full expertise, the full authority, full trust. Do you think this is also good information to have on there?
Yes, we've crafted pages that hit all of these topics. They're very, very familiar to me.
Yeah, and so if I hadn't thought of typing this in, if I just had done this, see, here's the thing. And so here's going to be the upshot of, I think, here's going to be the upshot of today's episode, is that if you're phoning it in, even if you're using AI to phone it in, it's still not going to do very well, quite frankly. Sorry. There's ways to do it fast that have intelligence built in, like using a tool like Keyword Spy that we built, because we put all the intelligence in it, and that's the only time you can kind of phone it in and go fast. But if you just try to phone it in here on ChatGPT and just say, okay, whatever, just teach me the important things I need. Like first you had to think of even doing this. We were here and this was the article. Like this is what most people are going to go with. They're going to go into ChatGPT and say, make me an SEO article. And even AI PRM is no better than this. All the other content generation tools are not much better than this, right? They're just write me an SEO article, which in Google's mind immediately means crap, right? Low quality. Go in and make me a low quality article is basically what I asked it to do. And so that's what it did, right? It knows how to make a low quality article. And even asking it, okay, then what are the essential things I should be talking about? It gave us a half decent brief of what should be covered. But then it's like, oh, well, here's a bunch of stuff that I didn't mention before that you should mention too. So there's many steps to using it And this wouldn't be the most efficient way. I think there are more efficient ways. And so, Greg, you tell me, what do you think we should show them? We could show you the ways that you could use AI Spy and Keyword Spy to generate helpful content, and I can edit the original article. We could do that. Or we could show you the behind the scenes prompts of how we're going to be generating content and how you would generate it kind of in one fell swoop. We could also show you that. Greg, what do you think? And I'm going to take a look at the see if you have any questions while you're doing that.
Sure. Well, one thing just came to mind that I've been seeing a lot lately is essentially looking at your SERP competitors, top 10, honing in on a page that you think you're going to be doing that's similar, and literally copying it, pasting it, and having ChatGPT rewrite it. I think that's a strategy that a lot of people are using, and I'm curious if anyone's had any success with that, or what you think of it. But that's definitely being pushed out in the community of SEO and YouTube quite a lot, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if everyone has any opinions on that in the chat, Steven says, who are you going to call? Josh. That's right. I am the SEO myth buster. That's hence why I'm wearing my Ghostbusters t-shirt. And Renee says, hey, Josh, Renee here. Is it possible to ask the AI to use a specific source, like a scientist or a specific expert? And so I said, exactly, that's what we're going to do in a couple seconds. Again, there's about a 20-second delay. If anybody here has heard had success in doing that, let me know. Let me tell you what I think about it. I think it's not a great idea. Whether or not people have had success doing it, I really don't think it's a great idea to do it that way. Let me tell you why. Because you are just copying. So if you take the number one result, so let's go here. Let's go here to my search for tests. So you got a clean SERP. We'll do JFK plus parking. And we'll take the number one result here, which is JFK Airport. Okay, so first off, are we going to take JFK Airport? We're going to actually take the airport page and rewrite that? Like, is that what we're going to do? Or we're going to take
someone that looks, resembles my site, which
like Spot Hero here?
Yeah, those next two do. They're aggregators. So yeah, one of those.
Okay. So now we're going to take this, and it has the thing at the top here.
Yeah, copy from that point down. Right.
So it has a bunch of table stuff you can't rewrite. It has this stuff you can rewrite. It has an FAQ. It's actually very kind of short on content, although it has a lot of graphical content. A lot of the interesting content is in the graphical content. So this is a really bad example to rewrite, probably. But it's a great example, actually, because that's what people are going to do. They're going to say, I heard on some SEO forum somewhere that I'm just supposed to rewrite a competitor, so I will put it in GPT, and the magic of GPT will make me rank. That was all wrong, of course, but that's what they're going to think to do. So I will go to default GPT and say, please rewrite this content and paste it in. I just say, I didn't copy JFK parking. Okay. So now it's going to rewrite this content. Now it's going to totally change the types, the type of it. It wrote 4 paragraphs. Did it even get the parking prices right? Maybe, but it definitely didn't. 9 to 40 for valet. It took the valet price. Oh yeah, here's valet parking options with 9 to 40. Well, actually, it says this is all the options for all the parking. So it got the fact wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It got the fact wrong. It rewrote a crappy article and garbage in, garbage out. And you got a crappy article out. So this is a perfect example. So this is what you're going to get when you copy a competitor's page and just get them to rewrite it. Just because they're ranking number 1 doesn't mean their on page is awesome. They could be ranking there for totally other reasons, like they're on a giant domain. They have a lot of domain authority, so to speak, on that domain, or the page has a lot of backlinks, or it has a lot of traffic, or it's really popular for some other reason. Some other ranking factor is putting it there. It has the HTML that Google wants to see. It has the DOM vector that Google wants to see. It has the entity vector that Google wants to see. Something about it is making it rank there. It doesn't necessarily mean the page is good. It doesn't mean you should be copying this page, even though it ranks very highly. And sometimes you're like, Josh, well, that's a bad example. I could tell that was a terrible page to try. Can you? Can you? Can you just eyeball it and tell that? No, you can't. No, you can't. So, and even if you think you can, there's going to be edge cases. You're going to make mistakes. This is a flawed method to begin with, because this is copying in. Anything good about this content might end up in the result, and anything bad about this content is going to end up in the result. This is going to be a watered down version of what was good and bad with the previous content. And you do not want a watered down version. It's not wheat. It's not watered down expertise, experience, authority, and trust. It's HEEAT. It's helpfulness, expertise, experience, authority, and trust. You need to be on the vector for all these things. Google has a vector for all these things of what is helpful and then what would be more helpful. What is experience? What would be more experienced? What is expertise? What would be more expertise? What has authority? What would be more authoritative? What has trust? What would be more trustworthy? They have a vector for all these things that you want to be on so you can beat them with on page. You want your on page to beat them, because if your on page isn't beating them, then that means you have to compete more on other signals, which cost a lot of money, incur a lot of risk. And you will fail in SEO from that perspective, and you're spending too much money and you're incurring too much risk. And I see it every day, every single day. Someone emails me and it's like, Josh, my site was hitting a core update. Can we just do AI content really quickly and get it back working? The answer is no. No, you can't. Not just doing what I'm doing here in ChatGPT. Not fast and not easy. I have to spend, to do my artisanal SEO, to really tick all the boxes and everything right now in Keyword Spy, it takes me an hour to do a page. It would be less time in simpler niches, but you're going to take a while to actually do a page. Now, you might be like an hour for a page. Some white hats are hearing that and they're scoffing because it takes them 20 hours for a page. They work on one page for a week, right? Their whole work week of 30 to 40 hours is working on one page. Those are the people who really make high quality articles. We can bring that down, a 1 week of time, we could bring down to an hour in Keyword Spy. And then some people in the black hat world are like, 1 hour on a page, it takes me 5 minutes. Yeah, but that's a spray and pray site, and how well is your site doing, right, is the point. Not only do you need to rank higher now, you need to rank higher for the future. And so there has to be a better method than doing it this way, of just copying the mistakes of your competitors and thinking that GPT has some SEO magic. GPT, if you get nothing from this show, hear this. GPT does not have any SEO magic. Zero, zilch, none. In fact, it has as much bad habits in it for SEO, which are called biases in the SEO industry. It has, and hallucinations. It has as much bias and hallucinations in terms of making SEO content as it does good things in making SEO content. You need to know how to prompt it correctly, and or you need to be using a tool like, again, not to be too salesy for our own stuff, but Keyword Spy, where this stuff is built in. Gotta adjust my camera, it keeps falling. Sorry, it's driving me nuts. Where the SEO consulting logic is built in. So let's actually show you guys how to do this a little bit. Let's show you how to actually prompt this thing correctly. We can also look at Keyword Spy to see how we would, there's different ways we can make helpful content in Keyword Spy. Let me see if there's any more questions. Andrew says, would be cool to see Keyword Spy in action. Okay. So Andrew has asked, it would be cool to see Keyword Spy in action. And so ye ask and ye shall receive. Okay. So let me go here. Okay. So let's go to app.keywordspy.com. All right. So there's a bunch of different ways. And in the editor, very soon, we're going to have a big green button here. That's going to say generate content. And it's going to do this all for you. All right. It's going to do this all for you when you're making new pages. But what do you do when you don't want to make a new page? What do you do when you want to what do you do when you want to edit an existing page? So we have this page already existing that we made. It could be this one that we wrote here. I'd rather do, where is it? Here. This one that we wrote here. We want to zhuzh this up. We want to SEO this up. We want to make it helpful. We want to give this the heat. Okay, we want to give this the heat. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to add stuff to it. And I'm going to add it right here in the prompt, which is one way you could do it. So I'll show you how we could get this data out of Keyword Spy. So what I'll do is I'll go to AI Spy. And so built right into AI Spy is a bunch of different stuff. You can write your title and metas here. You can do advanced AI detection here, which is the GLTR method of detecting it. There's the content improver here. Greg, can you talk to us a little bit about how the content improver works?
Sure. Basically, it's a paraphraser, but what I've noticed that I think in partially your engineering of it was to make content better, shorter, better sounding, as well as less detectable, predictable, AI detectable / predictable. So I use it constantly. Now it's like you could spit something out in GPT and plug it in here, and it's I don't know, sometimes like 10 points less in terms of its predictability. It's very handy tool, but it also
it's AI predictability. Yeah.
Yes, and it does shorten the text quite a bit, so you may or may not like that, but I use it for marketing, for emails, just a bunch of different use cases for it, as well as on page. So
right. So that's a great tool, but that's not quite what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make more helpful content. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you. So here we've actually gone into the actual Google documentation for the helpful content that they actually want. This is actually lifted directly from Google, and we're going to tell the AI to demonstrate firsthand expertise and a depth of knowledge. We're going to tell the AI that after reading your content, will someone leave feeling they've learned enough about a topic to achieve their goal? And remember, you need to do this on your page or you're not going to rank, right? Or if you're ranking, you're not going to rank for very long. We're going to instruct the AI, will someone reading your content leave feeling like they've had a satisfying experience? Are you mainly summarizing what others have to say without adding a bunch of value? See, that's exactly what they said not to do. And that's exactly what Greg just said other people in SEO are doing. They're just summarizing what other people have said without adding any value, right? You've got to add value if you want to rank. You need the heat, right? Or finally, we're going to instruct the AI to, does your content leave readers feeling like they need to search again to get better information from other sources? And so we're going to put in JFK parking here. And then we're going to click all these and we're going to say, go, submit. And so what AI Spy is going to do is going to generate this content and find what is the most helpful content for all this kind of stuff. Oops, I didn't put a G in it. JFK parking, boink, 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 boink. Ing. Got rid of the G. What happened?
It keeps disappearing.
Yeah. That's weird. Maybe I put two G's. There we go.
That is strange.
Wow. Like I said, AI Spy, Keyword Spy is the best SEO tool on the planet. We didn't say it was the least buggy SEO tool on the planet. So obviously, jump on into the hilarity that is our lives of making an SEO tool. As you can see, as we find weird, why is it doing that? Weird little bug. So if you put two G's here, it'll be fine. Okay. So if I press submit, it submitted the right EMQ. Okay, there we go.
That is hilarious.
That's weird. Okay, so what it's going to do now, it's going to use GPT and it's going to prompt it in a way that is much more intelligent and much more integrated in multiple prompts, checking things and rechecking things. And it's going to actually produce content that is much more useful. So here's how we're demonstrating firsthand expertise and a depth of knowledge. It says JFK Airport offers a variety of parking options, including short and long-term lots. So now we're getting that information in the second prompt we did here before. Short-term is available in central terminal area garages for up to 24 hours at a time. So you need to fact check all this too, because every GPT has factual problems. But Greg, I'm sure you can tell me whether you think this is accurate or not. Long-term parking is available in this particular lot, located exactly at this place. And whether this is accurate or not, this is what you need, right? So you can even give this to your writer, or you can check it yourself and make sure it's the case. Rates vary depending on how long you park, whatever you choose. However, most lots offer discounts for pre-booking online through an app. Very helpful. You may be surprised to find that there are also valet services available at JFK Parking, as well as car wash and detailing services. Oh wow, that's neat. I didn't know that. That makes sense. What a smart thing for JFK Airport to build in there. Or at least that's not very common in Canada. I don't know if that's a common thing in the US, having car wash or detailing services. If that's true. Additionally, some lots offer electric vehicle charging stations. You can charge your car while it's parked at the airport. Fantastic.
I mean, that's so detailed that even doing this for 18 years, as I said, I would still want to check it out, but it's
sure. So I'll show you how you would do that very easily. You take this, you copy and paste it. Now I would use GPT-4 if you have access to it, or you could use Browsing Alpha if you have access to it. I'm just going to use the default GPT and say, please fact check this info. Let's see if it can do that. Yeah, so as of September 2021, it says this is correct.
Yeah, but it produced that content. Why would it then say that its own content, its own facts are false? That's kind of weird.
That's a very good question. You know why? Because everybody is using this interface for ChatGPT, but this interface for ChatGPT has temperature set to 70%. Temperature means randomness. So here that's not going to apply to us because we use the API with temperature set to 0, I'm sure, to produce this content. But if temperature is set to 70%, it had a 70% chance of deciding to change 9 to an 8. Right? Every token it generates, it's going to decide a percentage chance to choose something lower in the top K10 generation. Now, because we are doing this through an API, and we know how AI works, because we're very high-level AI consultants, we knew to set temperature to 0. But A, the rest of the industry doesn't know this. B, you have no idea what these other tools like Jasper or whatever else are doing behind the scenes, if they even bothered to set the temperature. And C, a lot of people are using this interface here, this whole interface, which has temperature set at 70%. So to do this right, you'd actually have to go to the playground and use the ugly playground, not for this model, not for the complete model, but for the chat model, and set temperature. Oh, it's ChatGPT calling us saying, stop it. You'd have to set temperature here to 0, which is what we do in the command line for the API. But how many SEOs actually go in here and set temperature to 0? That's another reason why the facts are often wrong. Does that make sense, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things that's a selling point of our tool is that the prompting has been well thought out and engineered.
Yes. And so we want to check just to make sure it was the case. It might have changed since 2021. That's something that we definitely need to check. And anybody and everybody who's using GPT, which is everybody and anybody, it is only accurate up to 2021, and then it could have changed since then. So I've run into situations where I had a GPT write a page, it was perfect, then I sent it to my writer anyway, because I have one, and she fact checked it all. Kudos out to Rhoda. And she's like, this is wrong. This is not the way it works anymore. It was on buying Pinterest ads. And she's like, this is wrong. It's not the way it works anymore. And and I fact checked it. I'd run it through our fact checking helpfulness and whatnot. But it was accurate to 2021, but it had changed. So that's another way it can change. But another way it can change without people realizing it is this has 70% This has 70% randomness on it. So which is set here in temperature to 0.7. This is what you'll get. So as temperature approaches 0, it becomes deterministic. That's what you want it. You want it to be deterministic. You want it to report the facts accurately, right? And let me show you how that works in the complete model here. So what am I going to say? Actually, hold on. I need to turn this. I need to show probabilities on. Okay. So look at this. So this is the complete model, but this is still the exact same way that chat works. The only thing that's not working here is that ChatGPT also has something called the attention mechanism. The attention mechanism is another kind of quasi-self-aware program working in ChatGPT, which will go up and say about Josh. It'll go up and read this section that you talked about Josh, and it will have this, even if the tokens are exceeding what you're allowed to use in ChatGPT, which is 4,000 tokens, I believe. Even if you're exceeding that, it'll take the attention mechanism and come up here and feed that to the tokenizer. The tokenizer will then feed it to the model. The model will then give it back to the tokenizer. The tokenizer will then spit it out. But the complete Text DaVinci model and Text DaVinci in the Instruct 3.5 GPT series, which is the base of ChatGPT in terms of its model intelligence, does not have the attentionizer. The attentionizer, the attention module, is one of the things that makes ChatGPT different. And you can have a GPT that went on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and it still remembers what it was doing because it goes up and takes sections and moves them down here to write it at the bottom. And that it usually stops when it comes to 4,000 tokens. Then you have to say, please continue, and then it will continue. And if you guys are wondering what the heck I did here, I got it to actually make the HTML for me. I took the DOM vector HTML out of Keyword Spy, and I told it to put in these tags in the appropriate places with the appropriate class that will boost you, and it did. So that's another very interesting thing you can do with ChatGPT that will very soon be built right into Keyword Spy. You'll never need to do it. But anyway, that was just the point of showing how the tokenizer works. And the attention module works. Look at this. So I've turned on probabilities, talking about how temperature works. And how temperature, remember, is built into 70% in here. This is how temperature works. I'm going to say, what am I going to say about, and I'll hit Control Enter, and I'll start generating tokens. Now you see how there's colors on this, and you see how the colors are stronger or lighter. If I click this, this is the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the top K5 of what they could have produced. There was a 65% chance the token to produce after all of this and their model and all the training came down to this token. And there was a 65% chance that all of this plus their model would have produced this. And so because I have temperature set to 0, it automatically goes with the top percentage. But if I had temperature set to 0.9, see how this looks? This is not a valid question. Please provide more information to help you better. Look what happens when I set temperature to 90%. Heck, I'll do 70%, just like it is in ChatGPT, just so you can see the difference. Control Enter. Boom, it's different. So it still chose the 64% one. It didn't go down, 70% chance of change didn't go down to 8% for AI, 5% for it. 5% for the, or 3.76% for a new line. It's interesting, a new line. People think of it producing words. It doesn't produce words. It produces tokens, and tokens are mathematically encoded and decoded representations of any characters it was fed in a particular order. But you notice now it shows this, which was not this, pun not intended. It shows the double arrows that I was using in my model above as part of the structure, which ChatGPT is also very intelligent not to use, right? When you start using formatting in ChatGPT, when I start using formatting like a bracket, or I start using formatting like, did I use a line? Like a line, it knows not to repeat that. And it knows as an instruction set to use that to section out parts of the prompt. It's an advanced way of doing prompt engineering for ChatGPT. But that is only because of the Instruct GPT model that they put on top of ChatGPT, plus the attention module is how you get a difference between this and how you get a difference between this with a system role, a system context role that you can specify in the API, a user role, and also an assistant role. It has those other, that's in total, I've just told you the complete difference between ChatGPT and Complete. I just told you the complete difference now. That's how it works under the hood. And why am I going into all this? Because as an SEO, if you don't know this, you shouldn't be A, talking about AI because you don't know enough about it, and B, you shouldn't be using it. That's why you should listen to us. Again, as you said, very self-serving, half in the bag, drinking is sipping on whatever is in here. Mention, you should be listening to us because we know how this fucking shit works. That's why you should be listening to us, right? And not AI PRM, we made some helpful prompts that are gonna kill your SEO. Like, no, you fucking haven't. You have no idea what you're talking about. So I'm sorry, Greg laughs when I get angry because I get really angry. But you see, even with temperature set to 70%, it still chose this because 64 and 8 was a big difference. But instead of choosing this, it chose the double ampersand. And then because it chose the double ampersand, now I've changed the whole flow here. Now, because it chose this, these are all the tokens now, right? And it changed the track. Like I pulled the switch on the track of words and now the track is going in a whole new direction that it never would have went to before. And now it's like, okay, well, what's the next token to do after this? Well, I have to say something like the word the or something, right? Because that was what was in my my prompt up here. So then it chose to do this and it chose, wow. And see, this gets really weird. What's the difference between this top one and this one it shows? And this one and this one? Whoa. See, the tokenizer, now we're seeing how the AI fucked up. The tokenizer has different tokens for those two different words that we know as humans are the same thing, but it doesn't think those are the same thing. It thinks that means something different. That's weird. That error as well is embedded in ChatGPT because this is still, Text DaVinci 3 is still Instruct 3.5. This is the base of ChatGPT plus all those other stuff I just mentioned on top of it. So that's really weird. And then it chose content, but see that the content's not at the top. So this is the point. You see how it's choosing stuff down the stack of tokens it could have chose? And it thus forever changing the sentence and having a different meaning. So that's why in here you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful when you are generating content out of here. Because if you don't know how it works, you probably have the temperature set to 70% and it's going to change the whole sentence. It's going to change the meaning almost entirely, especially for stuff in which it's not sure about. Like this is very close. 39 and 33 are very close to each other. So it's like a coin toss which one it'll choose, and anything higher than 50%. So you could get is, you can get content. And so if I put is here, how would that have changed what it was going to do? Now it decides to go with not. See how it changed it entirely? So the temperature matters, right? The temperature matters. And so we know, because we know what we're doing, to set this to 0 for stuff that you don't want stuff to be weird. And that's how we generated this here in Keyword Spy, is with 0 temperature. And that's how I know that this is going to be an accurate representation of the tokenization, how they want to produce it. And if it was accurate in 2021, there's a high percentage chance this will be accurate now. And you can also fact check it in ChatGPT. So you might also be like, okay, well, hold on, Josh. But if this has 70% temperature in it, which it does, then why would I ever use it to fact check it? Because it's the law of averages of flipping the coin multiple times, right? I can flip the coin multiple times and it will average out to what it's supposed to average out to, being 50% heads, 50% tails, unless the coin has defects or it's weighted on one side or something like that, that the physicality is skewing the math. The internal realm of Plato's forms of math is pristine and distinct from matter and separate and incorruptible. But in the physical world, on this 6-sided die here, if it's weighted incorrectly, it'll always roll a whatever, right? And the stats will be off. So, or this 20-sided die for those D&D nerds out there. And so you might be like, okay, well then how can you check the facts here in this? Why am I using this and not this? Well, I could have used this. It's just a pain in the ass to use. Like, it's not very good, easy on the eyes. This is just so much easier to use. Is why I use it. But you can fact check it because I've generated it once, and now the chances of it getting it wrong a second time exponentially decrease. It would only get it wrong a second time if some of this information was questionable to begin with, and it said, no, this is correct. So it's correct as up to September 2021. So you can fact check stuff in this that is at least not highly questionable. Okay. So I'm going to quickly look to see if we have any questions about that, because that was maybe a little complicated. Yusef asks, could you compare your software against Pop? Sure, one day we can do that, no problem. The short version of that is Pop sucks. Page Optimizer Pro is made by Kyle. God bless him. I wish him well in terms of his health. However, it's just based on NLP, open source NLP technology that has nothing to do with Google. So if you want, again, you might as well just take this 6-sided die and roll it, and that'd be just as good as choosing your keywords, because an open source NLP has nothing to do with the AIs that Google actually runs. But we can actually do a side-by-side at some point if you want. David says, originality sure got tough with new algo. Most of the content I manually rewrite now is flagged as AI. That's the really interesting thing, is that in Keyword Spy, we notice that human writing content is 65 to 75% predictable. And that's the amazing thing, that human written content is 65 to 75% predictable. So that's just fascinating. So if you're in that range or lower, then you're doing as well as humans are. So that's a good thing. Brat says at Yusuf that Kyle built Pop back in the SEO intelligence days. I think there was a build on single variable testing data. Yes, like 6 years ago, which doesn't work because Google rolled out multiple indexes for each keyword. Wow. That's an interesting comment. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Barat, but there are not multiple indexes for each keyword, as far as I know. Single variable testing works perfectly fine. You just have to know how it works. We do it in Underground SEO University all the time. It's just that they've a few years ago, they massively changed how everything worked, and we had to change with it. So I admit it's way harder. I fully admit it's way harder to do single variable testing, but it's in no way impossible. And it works just fine. We do it all the time. So join Underground SEO University if you want to learn about how to do this education. Email me at joshpaczynski@gmail.com. Or if you just want to do it fast and let the magic of Underground SEO University work for you without learning any of it, then go to trykeywordspy.com and try Keyword Spy free for 2 weeks, or both, or do both. Learn how SEO works and get your grandfathered price of Keyword Spy before we up the price to at least $500 a month or higher. Okay. So to finish out this episode, because we're running out of time here, so let me show you how we would do this. Okay, so it took this information, which we've fact-checked and we know is good information. And we know that they want to talk about these things. We know that they want to talk about these things. And we know they want to talk about these things. And you notice here that we also have a drill down. We could say, tell me more about this. We could say, explain this better. We could say, what do lay people say about this topic compared to what the experts say? Just to make sure that we're saying what the experts are saying. This is sometimes very useful to do. So I'm going to add that there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this all to the clipboard. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our first article, and I'm going to paste all this in here. So that was the first one. This is the second one. is the third one. This is the fourth one. There we go. Okay, that's a duplicate. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say, okay, please rewrite the above article. Now I could do this in Keyword Spy as well. I could have pasted this in the Keyword Spy and got it to rewrite it, but I'm going to do it here in ChatGPT just to do it quickly and show everyone something that you could do. After you've researched the information, which we can do for you like that in Keyword Spy, or after you spent 5 hours and found it out yourself manually, your choice of how you want to do that, we could say, okay, please rewrite the above article using the below super useful information. Please restructure the article based on this information. Please write from the perspective of an expert in this field and say what the experts would say, giving the most useful tips to the user that will end their search and fully inform them as to what they need to know for this topic. Please use dynamic language, shorter sentences, active tense. Really try to sell the topic. And loud the benefits while also warning them of any potential pitfalls. And that's really important. You don't just want to gloss over any issues. You also want to add in the pitfalls. So I said, okay, please rewrite the above article using the below super useful information. Please restructure the article based on this information. Please write from the perspective of an expert in this field and say what the experts would say, giving the most useful tips to the user that will end their search and fully inform them as to what they need to know for this topic. Please use dynamic language, shorter sentences, active tense. Really try to sell the topic and loud the benefits while also warning them of any potential pitfalls. Please make the article in depth and as long as it needs to be maximally useful. And I like to correct my typos usually, although you don't really need to. So please follow these guidelines when writing it. H, be maximally helpful. E, show maximal experience. E, show maximal expertise in the content, in the quality of the content. A, demonstrate authority, demonstrate knowledge authority of the topic while staying helpful and approachable. Finally, T, encourage trust in the reader by the quality of the content and the tone. Use this specific info to obtain those above goals. And so you see how I put a line between it so that it knows the difference between what we're talking about here and also separating out the sections. And it's going to, so this is the attention module has an easier chance of finding what this specific information is. And I'll end it off with this. And then I will say, okay, please rewrite, improve the article. And boom, immediately it starts saying, as an expert in airport parking, I understand that finding the right parking spot can be a hassle, blah, blah, blah. It immediately starts humanizing. It immediately starts talking at an in-depth level as an expert as to what all this stuff is. And so now it's going to start breaking down the different areas: accessibility, security measures, distance for the terminal is also important, hours of operation, and finally, blah, 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 blah. So it wrote a much better article. It gave us, let's find out how many words it gave us here. Let's go into Keyword Spy. I've never done JFK parking, so I don't want to do this here. It'll take too long. I'll just go into Word quickly. Now, from the 300 words, it's given us 560 words, which is often considered a great length for an SEO article. And Greg, now you might have to take a couple kicks. Might have to take a couple kicks at the can to do this. I might want to add in H2s to this. And you could do that. You could say, okay, please add in section headers for the above. Make the section headers catchy and on point. And now it's going to give me my H1s and H2s as well that I can use. And it'll section it out maybe a little bit better. So Greg, what do you think? Do you think the article has improved?
Yeah, well, it's really hard to see it on my screen, but
Here, let me give you, here, can you start checking it
out? Did it rewrite it? Because the last one I thought said something about as it was in the first person talking as an expert.
You're right, it did rewrite it.
That you didn't want. You just wanted headers or subheadings. So
because here's something you could do. Please do not rewrite. Here's something you can do in ChatGPT, which works sometimes. The article, just add section headers. Just as
okay.
So now I gave you your section headers. I can say, okay, please add those into the text, to the existing text.
No, it picked the second one.
Oh, right.
No.
You're right. I'd have to go above instead. Yeah. But with a little bit of jiggery pokery, you can add in the useful information and you get a much better article, I think. It's much longer, it's much more useful. You don't have to have section headers, but I thought most people like having section headers. I could have said up here, actually, I could have actually in my first prompt here, please write the above article using the below super information and give each section headers.
Yeah. But I found it interesting that it started writing in the first person.
Yes. And that's something it does. That are catchy and on point.
Now, my question to you would be, if I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. You read it, it's a first person, you read everything else in your SERP, it's all just not first person, whatever the opposite of that is.
Second person or third person, usually third person.
Do you go with what is written in the GPT, or do you conform it to what your competitors are doing?
That's a great question. That'd be something we should test in Underground SEO University, quite frankly. But my hunch is, and I'm 60% sure of this, is that it doesn't matter as long as you have the BERT keywords, which are phrases, and the neural matching, rank brain, helpful, and as long as you have the BERT, helpful, and product entities, which are phrases, or and as long as you have the rank brain and neural matching entities, which are words, it doesn't matter if you're writing in the first or third person. And I think the first person, whenever I tell it to be helpful, whenever I tell it to show expertise and be an expert, and whenever I show it to have the heat, it always writes in the first person. And I think that's not an accident.
Yeah.
I think that's the AI saying, this is what's more trustworthy, writing from a personal perspective. And I would agree. And most of the social psychological tests I've seen on this, they would all concur. So I think for the human, I'm 90% sure the first person is the right choice. For Google, I'm 60% sure the first person is fine, even if the rest are in the third person.
Yeah, I guess then you would just, like for me, I don't put an author behind every page, and I'm sure a lot of people who have sites that are e-commerce or transactional, that they're maybe not, blog type article, you don't have an author to assign it to, so it's kind of a weird reading, like talking in the first person, but then there's no one behind it. So just have to make sure that you're consistent, I guess.
Presuming that the user is going to read multiple pages on your site. If you have the kind of site that the user is going to read multiple pages, to have one in the first person and one in the second might be kind of weird. I don't know. I think everyone should have an author entity anyway because of the associated boosts. If you've done the author entity correctly. That can be the brand entity. You don't have to have an author, but I liked, instead of just having boost for a brand entity that's big, I like to have more boost from also having an author entity that is big. But that takes more work to build that up, of course, as you know.
Yep.
But I still like it. You'd have to look at the conversion rates to see if first person ranks better. And we're gonna have to do some testing in Underground SEO University to see if Google, what Google thinks, and if there's any difference at all. I should write that down. So before we sign off here, folks, if you have any final questions, please fire them in the chat before we sign off. So I think this is a much better article. I told it to use the headers, and it did in my original thing. And when I told it to bring the heat super important. So it's all about heat. Today was about heat, to be maximally helpful, to show maximal experience, to show maximal expertise in the quality of the content, to demonstrate knowledge of authority of the topic while staying helpful and approachable, to encourage trust in the reader by the quality of the content and the tone. And I think it did that. I think it's maximizing your JFK parking experience. That's the point. Expert tips for finding affordable and convenient parking. This is what Google wants to rank right there. They don't want to rank anything that looks like it's amateur tips or made for SEO content tips. They want to rank the expert tips for finding affordable and convenient parking. Like if you put free parking in your title, if you put free parking in your GMB, you get boosts, if it's true. And so that's what they want to do. They want to help the user. They want to give experts helping the user. So what do you think, Greg? Just looking at the first part of this, would you concur?
Yeah, I think I would mostly. I'd like to send it to me. Sorry, I got something in my throat.
No problem.
A little tickle.
He's getting choked up at how well it worked.
Yeah, send that to me. I'll take a look at it. I'd like to see how well it does with actually some of the key entities that you would want in it. See how well it does there, putting it in to Keyword Spy, content editor. But overall, yeah, the heat side of things, I think it did a good job.
Yeah, totally. And that's another good point. We were only talking about heat here. We were only talking about the helpful, experienced, expertise, authority, and trust aspect to it that people miss so often. We were not talking about the depth keywords you need, like JFK parking, convenience, affordability, those kinds of keywords that are going to be related in the words in neural matching and rank brain that we test in Keyword Spy. If you're not testing for them, then you're leaving a whole bunch of ranking keywords off the table. In fact, you're probably demoting yourself. Or the key phrases in helpfulness, in BERT, in product content. Some of those are going to be accounted for here because I told it to be helpful. Some of them, and I used the stuff we got from Keyword Spy. Some of it's not. A lot of it's not. The depth and the spread, the ye olde SEO keywords that are just for semantic power, for scoring on semantic relevance, are only going to be in there by accident. So you would need a more cohesive process to do this whole thing, which we've built into Keyword Spy, which is why you would want to use Keyword Spy. In one click, it'll do it for you very, very shortly. That will be released. Right now, it's like 3 or 4 clicks to do it. But that's not the point. The point, we weren't talking about depth and spread keywords today. We were talking about HEEAT keywords, which are very important to get in there too. All right, let's see what other final questions folks have before we sign off. If that makes sense, guys, let me know. Excellent. We don't have any questions. Everyone is satiated, I take it. Excellent, good stuff. All right, guys, well, thanks very much. This has been the SEO plus AI show, how to bring the heat with GPT. If you have any final questions, there's about a 20-second delay. Go ahead and fire them in there. Greg, do you have any final comments you want to make today?
No, I think I'm good, Josh. We'll take note of the pop comparison. Maybe do that in a couple of weeks.
Sure.
I think that was a great idea. I'd like to see it for myself. And yeah, no, I think this has been extremely helpful. I love the acronym that you've invented, and I'm curious to see how many people start using it and stealing it from you.
Yes, as per usual. Yes. Well, they're already starting to steal it on Twitter.
Okay.
Sorry, say again.
I said they are starting. You're saying?
Yes. Yeah. It's already started. But that's fine. That's fine. Stealing your ideas is the finest form of flattery, I guess, is the best way to do it. But that's fine. There's the I might have heard it somewhere. Who knows? Maybe I came up with it. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I thought it was good. HEEAT. It's one to add in there because people forget the helpfulness because Google released the helpful update and then they just didn't bother talking about it again. And everyone's like, oh, I guess it's not important. No, it's extremely, extremely important. That's how we get to big rankings in Underground SEO University, and that's how our users of Keyword Spy get to big rankings. So make sure to like and subscribe and click the bell so you get more updates when we're doing the show. I
did have one other thing. We
Sure.
Just started a Substack for the SEO AI show. There's a podcast and a newsletter that goes out. It's on Substack. So just wanted to let people know if they want to consume this content, reading it and or through a podcast on your way to work.
Yeah, good way to listen for sure. I know a lot of people love podcasts. Thank you, Greg, for doing that. That's fantastic. We do have some final questions got fired in there late. CDL 512 says, can't wait for updates that were emailed on Monday. Yeah, Keyword Spy has got some massive updates coming up. It's going to be really, really good. We're looking at the initial stuff right now. It's going to be really, really good. Guys, go to trykeywordspy.com. This is not a sales pitch. I'm imploring you. Keyword Spy is a really good tool. Go to trykeywordspy.com and guarantee your grandfathered price of $144 because we are going to up the price. Our tool is far too good to remain at that low price. It will be $500 minimum as soon as the remaining 30 or 40 spots are gone. Grandfather your $144 price in. Put up with a few bugs, help us with the bug testing, and then you will have the absolute best SEO tool ever made, because now with the power of AI, we can make SEO tools unlike any other SEO tool before. You will have the single best SEO tool ever made for a mere $144 a month. If you get in now and grandfather your price, and you can try it free for 2 weeks. I highly recommend you go do that, because don't come whining to us after. If you're like, Josh, I would need the $144 price. We're going to say, sorry, tough shit. We had 100 grandfathered spots. That's what we did. And now we're going to charge $1,500 for the full package. That's what everyone else is charging. So that's what we're going to charge too. Our rates will be commensurate to what all the other tools do. And we do the work of 3 different tools plus things that no other tool does, period. And each of those tools is like $500. You add it up, it's $1,500. So get your grandfathered price now. I am not fucking kidding. All right. There's 100 spots and that's all there's going to be. That's it. So I'm saying this as a public service announcement and to not hurt people's feelings later, where I could point back in this video and say, see, I told you that's what we're going to do. And people would be like, oh, but Josh, I thought you were lying. I thought it was a sales pitch. No, it's not a sales pitch. It's mostly now me trying to protect this scenario from happening in the future, which I know is going to happen. People are going to be like, I want the 144 price. No, sorry, no. And if you quit and jump out of it, then it's gone too. So get it, reserve your spot, try it free for 2 weeks. If you don't like it, fine. But don't be like, oh, it's buggy, I don't want to use it yet. I'm going to risk it until the very end and try and get I'm going to get the 99th grandfathered spot. That's probably not a good idea. Just FYI, that's not a good plan. Greg and I, we need to get our money back from the thousands and thousands of dollars of building this thing. It's not easy to build a tool like this. And so the price will go up. We're not going to be $144 a month and devalue ourselves forever when everyone else is charging $500 minimum. So I hope you can understand it from our perspective. We're trying to be nice and have 100 spots open. It's a lot of spots. There's 30 or 40 spots left or so. I would jump in now. If you're even vaguely interested, jump in now. If you're not vaguely interested, that's fine. Okay, no problem. I'll keep showing you how to do things in ChatGPT that will take you 5 hours this way. It would take you 5 minutes in Keyword Spy, but maybe you can't afford it. Fair enough. You know, I'm not twisting your arm. You know, no one's holding a gun to your head. But I would highly recommend, if you're even vaguely interested, to get in the grandfather price now. There's a couple more questions here. Inquire Digital says, how would Keyword Spy determine the keyword spread? That's a great question. I can show you very quickly how Keyword Spy would determine the spread. Let's go to reports. Let's go to installment loans, which I was working on recently, and go to the editor. And so you see what I've done here is I've done the full HTML DOM vector underlying of what it needs for the DOM vector with all that built in. All this will be a green button to do it all at one point. Right now I'm doing it manually, it takes me an hour. What you would do if I do this here, so I was going to move some stuff. If I run the content score, this score is the depth score. This is just an apples to apples NLP comparison of how you compete with the top 10 and if you are in the optimized zone. I'm in the optimized zone. I don't need to go any higher for depth. Depth is more important kind of in headers and in the title and whatnot than it is in other things. And oh, I forgot to generate the title. Add the winning words, submit. There we go. Perfect. Although it repeats the EMQ. Get financial freedom. Get your installment loan now. So now I'm not repeating the EMQ is what I'll do, and I'll save it. And then I'll generate the meta description, enter in the winning words, submit, and get the loan you need, installment loans for everyone. Now I will build on this. We're building a new one that will make a longer meta description. So you can have the short one, you got a long one. I'll save that for now. But what I would do for the spread keywords is I would go into content, I would go into entities, and I would say check work. And I would say all. Now you notice these phrases here, if I look at the phrases, these are the phrases that are both the EMQ, but also the phrases that are going to be important for BERT, helpful content, and product content. So we have personal line of credit, we have installment financing. I didn't do revolving credit or debt consolidation loan. They're scored very lowly. I like the higher scored one. So those are important entities for those AIs, and no other tool will tell you this. No other tool will know that these are the important ones to use in the way that we test it to know these are the important ones to use. What's even better in the system, if I click check work, I go to words, I go to score, is these rank brain and neural matching entities. Score 24 in our system means that we've tested it 3 different ways. If I go here to results, underground SEO universities members have an extra special capability here to have test pages. If I go to results here, you see we do a BERT test, which is worth 4 points total. We do the first neural matching rank brain test, which is more a factor of rank brain than it is of neural matching. We get 10 points for that. We actually have to build a model to do this for you. We actually have to build a model for neural matching and rank brain to do this for you. That's why it takes so long. And then the neural matching rank brain test 3, which is much more a test of neural matching than it is of rank brain. We actually have to build a model to do this for you too, is worth 10 points. So in total, 24 points. So it's these words that are the spread keywords, and you want to make sure you have a good spread of them. I don't want to see a 0 in any of the top scored words. So you see I've gone in and put in fund, I've gone in and put funded, I've gone in and put set, I believe was one of them here. Where is it? Installments. And I've also used the AI to do this automatically with our new green button that's coming up here. And you see here, I don't want any zeros. I don't want a huge bank of zeros in words that are very highly scored. Now you might be like, okay, great, Josh, I'm doing that in my other keyword tool. And my answer is, no, you're not. You might not see zeros in here. You might have stuffed your page full of NLP keywords from some open source NLP AI, but the keywords from the open source NLP AI are not the keywords that Google uses. And we know they use them because we've done multiple testing, and it came up with a scoring system to have the absolute most assurity out of any other SEO tool out there that these are the actual freaking boosting keywords. And these are the ones that we make sure we have a good spread on. But if you scroll down, you can see there's no zeros. The way this is written by our AI systems, I didn't handwrite this. This is written by the AI systems because I know absolutely nothing about installment loans. This is all the way down to here, all the way about halfway down. And so we have a bunch of zeros after that, but that's fine. You can't have all these words in there. It would be too long. I need to mimic the average length, which is 3,200. I've got it nailed perfectly. And my predictability is even less by using our method of, this is all AI generated. This is all AI generated. By using our method of AI generation, I'm even less predictable than the SERP average is. So I will, and look at my average predictability length is only 4. That is super unpredictable. That is super unpredictable. It's usually 5 to 6 for an AI generated. It's usually 5 for human generated, 6 to 7 for poorly AI generated, 5 for human generated. It depends on how business ease is being used, which are usually very common turns of phrase, which is exactly what the AI is going to use too, unless you know how to instruct it properly. And I've got comparable headings. I have the right amount of words in the headings. I've just got a few less headings. I checked the actual DOM vector here to see based on the winning competitors. I checked the winning competitors. I checked the DOM vector, and I found out actually how many H2s I'm supposed to use, and if they're supposed to have an attribute or not, and if there's supposed to be an attribute value. And I did that. I checked for how many LIs I'm supposed to use, how many ULs I'm supposed to use, and if they're supposed to have a value, an attribute, if the attribute is supposed to have a value. I am much closer in the DOM vectoring here. So yeah, this page is teed off to do very well. Teed off to do very well. So that's what the spread is, to answer your question. You'd go here, you'd click words, you click the score, you scroll down, and make sure you don't see any zeros, especially higher up. The higher up you are in the score here, the worse off it is. You don't want to see any zeros in any of these highly scored words because Google's AIs are looking for them. And so this is how you beat your competitors, by using words they're not, by using a superior keyword tool to tell you the superior keywords. So you could use superior keywords that your competitors are not using. You do not want to copy your competitors. That is a failing SEO strategy.
Yeah, we did one video, I think it was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, comparing Surfer, and I've done my own testing and looked at almost every tool out there. and they all give the same NLP keywords to use.
Yeah.
A lot of phrases, some individual words. And when I compare them, I'm trying to like find some similarities, and you just don't. Like this tool just gives you different keywords to use.
Yeah.
And the other tools are, similar because they're just basing it off NLP.
Yeah, an open source NLP that they just grabbed, which is like 10 years old and is nowhere near the complexity and nowhere near the same corpus size or even the same corpus wording as the ones Google is using. You got to actually test the actual Google AIs, or your ranking is going to fail. You have tied. How long do you think you can swim with boat anchors on your ankles?
Not too long.
Not too long, right? And that's what people are doing, and they don't realize how many people are leaving the SEO industry because they fail. I see it every day because they email me, sadly too late, for help. They're like, Josh, my site's already been down for 6 months and I have no money left. Help. I'm like, well, sorry, dude. I get paid for a living. And I try to help people. Admittedly, I help too many people for too cheap quite often. But sometimes they just don't leave themselves the time to get back, right? So here's another pro tip. If you see a demotion in rankings or your rankings are fluctuating, get help now. Don't wait. Get help now. It's like, I'm sorry for a very triggering topic. I don't mean to trigger anybody when I say this, but it's kind of like cancer. The sooner you see the fluctuations in your ranking or a ranking drop, the easier it will be to fix it. You do not let that tumor, so to speak, grow and metastasize and get bigger. Again, sorry for the triggering concept, but it's a perfect metaphor. It works perfectly for your SEO. Get help immediately if you start seeing fluxing in your rankings. All right, well, that's been a very great show. Definitely long enough. If there's any final questions here, let me see. Steve says, thanks to the midday video, guys. No problem, Steve. David says, bring back the open shirt. What are you thinking? I thought you guys were tired of my chest hair. I thought I would cover the chest hair with my Ghostbuster t-shirt. Inquire Digital says, so when using AI content, do you instruct GPT to write AI content that includes these keywords, or do you manually get the content editor to add these words? Great question. You have to add the keywords, but you can do it in the AI if you know how to do it. And Keyword Spy, we do it. There's going to be a big green button to do it very shortly. Greg, when do you think that big green button is going to be out?
Well, I have the mock-ups of it. It's still, fortunately, a big religious thing going on in the Muslim community, and it's,
it's
our dev team. Yeah, our dev team is based there, and we're running a little bit slower, but it is expected to be rolling out. I hope by the end of this week. Keyword discovery is definitely rolling out this week. But that's the goal is for Friday.
Awesome.
Maybe
Excellent.
this week at the
keyword
worst.
Yeah, keyword discovery is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. Didn't mean to bring it up, but just I know that email that I had sent out mentioned it, as well as the big green button as you referred to.
Yeah. Oh, but keyword discovery is like, it's going to be so good. We're going to do, as soon as it's ready to demo, we're going to do a demo for that. It's going to be so good. And Steve asks, how good is your Canadian friends tool? I don't know what that means. Is that a joke? I'm not really sure. That was probably for 20 seconds ago, which I now forget what that guy was talking about. Steve, email me and let me know what you're asking there, and I can help you out. All right, guys. So thanks very much. This has been a long enough show for sure. I hope you've enjoyed it. From Greg and Josh from the SEO plus AI show, we wish everyone a good day. We hope you're doing good. And this is the golden age, man. This is the new age of SEO, of AI powered SEO. If you do it right, you can succeed. You can get rankings if you're doing it right. Keep watching the SEO plus AI show, and make sure to like and subscribe for updates. And we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.